Good morning, everybody, and welcome to all committee members and staff and guests to the February 26, 2024 Haldeman Norfolk Health and Social Services Advisory Meeting. I would like to remind everyone that our meetings are web streamed. With that, I call the February 26, 2024 Haldeman Norfolk Health and Social Services Advisory Meeting to order. Under disclosure of pecuniary interests, is there any declarations of pecuniary interests? Seeing none. Are there any additions to the agenda? Sarah?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can we add under the General Manager report, I guess, the alternate for Haldeman County to this committee? We can put it under 7.1 of the General Manager report.
Thank you. Any others? Seeing none, we'll move on to presentations and deputations, and there is none today. Adoption of the advisory committee meeting minutes. Health 4.1, Health and Social Services Advisory Committee, January 22nd, 2024. May I have a motion to approve the Haldeman Norfolk Health and Social Services Advisory Meeting minutes from January 22nd, 2024. Thank you, Chris, for moving that. Seconded by Councillor Metcalf. All in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you. Updates and reports. I think Sarah will update us on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All previous reports were passed through the Board of Health. A slight update that the closed session of Board of Health provided some additional information that will be shared today and was also shared via email to Haldeman County previously. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Consent items. I don't see anything under consent items. Staff reports under 7.1, General Manager. I just want to announce that Haldeman has appointed Councillor Lawrence as an alternate to our Health and Social Services Board. 7.2, Public Health, Medical Officer of Health update. Dr. Locke isn't here today, but she has the information in this package, so I just want to have the motion to receive the information. Can I get a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Metcalf. Seconded. Councillor Duthie, thank you. All in favor? This motion is carried. Thank you. 7.2.2, Food Insecurity in the 2023 Ontario Nutritious Food Basket Survey, HSS-24-007.
Through you, Madam Chair, I would like to introduce Ms. Laura Goet, our dietitian, to present this report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Thank you for that introduction, Syed. My name is Laura Goyette. I'm a registered dietitian at the Health Unit, and today I'm here to provide a high-level overview of Board of Health Report HSS 24007, Food Insecurity and the 2023 Ontario Nutritious Food Basket Survey. My presentation disappeared, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. As per the Ontario Public Health Standards, boards of health are mandated to monitor food affordability at the local level, and we do this using a data collection tool called the Ontario Nutritious Food Basket Survey. The survey consists of 61 food items, and it's based on the 2019 Canada's Food Guide. We cost these food items in 9 grocery stores across Haldeman and Norfolk counties in the month of May. And in 2023, the results found that the average cost to feed a reference family of 4 in this region was $259.22 per week, or $1,122.43 per month. And this is a 5.5% increase from 2022. Income scenarios can help put food affordability into context. And in the Board of Health package, you'll see Appendix A, which explores 10 different income scenarios. And I'd like to highlight the family of 4 median income after tax. You'll see in this scenario that this family of 4 would spend approximately 12% of their income on food. And while we have no one accepted definition of what affordable food is, most people would agree between 10 and 15%. So this would fall in that range. In contrast, in the report and in this presentation today, we've highlighted 2 scenarios. The first is a single person on Ontario Works. You'll see that in this scenario, after paying for rent and food, there's a deficit of about $150 per month. And this individual would have to pay almost 50% of their income to afford a healthy dietary pattern. The second scenario is slightly better, a single person on the Ontario Disability Support Program. However, there would only be $85 left over at the end of the month to account for all other basic essentials, so transportation, clothing, utilities, personal care needs, etc. Food insecurity is defined in this report as inadequate or insecure access to food due to financial constraints. And our most recent data locally shows that 1 in 6 households in Haldeman and Norfolk counties are food insecure. This ranges from simply worrying about whether we can afford to buy food to physically skipping meals. And this is a significant public health problem because being food insecure is associated with higher rates of chronic disease, infectious disease, injury, poor oral health, poor mental health, premature death, and is associated also with higher healthcare costs. Food insecurity is not a food issue. There is enough food. It is an income issue. And so when we're looking at interventions, we're looking at those that will either increase household income or address the related issues of housing, childcare, transportation. Community food programs do an incredible job providing emergency relief. However, the research shows that these programs don't reduce the rates of food insecurity. So public health, we're looking at upstream preventative interventions. 2 good examples of effective interventions in the past have been the Canada Child Benefit, introduced in 2016. With this benefit, we've seen households that are severely food insecure decrease by 30%, and also the Old Age Security Pension Guaranteed Income Supplement. Those turning 65 have a 50% decrease in being food insecure as opposed to when they were 64 and were not eligible for these benefits. Inflation in 2022 reached a 40-year high, and most people have felt the impacts of this. In 2023, the ODSP program began indexing payments to inflation, and so in July 1st of 2023, recipients saw a 6.5% increase in their payments, as that is what inflation was. However, Ontario Works payments have been frozen since 2018. And so base payments and any indexes to inflation have not happened. So what can the Board of Health do to support residents living with food insecurity? Urge the provincial government to index OW rates to inflation similar to what ODSP has done, and also support the continued monitoring of food affordability at the local level. Our Ontario Public Health Standards are currently under review, and this a mandate allows us to have local data, and also it helps us to determine who is the most vulnerable in our communities and where we should be focusing our advocacy efforts. Thank you for reviewing this report, and I'm now open to questions or comments.
Thank you very much, Laura. Can I get a mover for this, please? Thank you, Councillor O'Neill. Seconded. Councillor Metcalf, is there discussions, questions? Councillor Van Passen?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I was just looking for what's actually in the food basket. Is it on one of those links that I didn't open, or?
So there is a reference document within this, sorry, through the chair to committee member Van Passen. There is a link to the public health standards in the reference document, which does have a example of a data collection tool, and that's what the province provides us. However, that tool does not reflect the 2019 Canada's Food Guide. So we do have an updated tool that we use, which can be made available and can be made available on our website.
If you could do me a favor and just circulate that, and instead of me going looking for it might make it simpler. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further questions, comments? Thank you, Laura, for your report, and it is disheartening to see, I noticed yesterday in the grocery store, normally you see families and they've got their buggy overloaded, and you're watching, these young families pick through the sales and come out with, just the bare minimum. So I really have been noticing it the last 6 months or so. So it's very sad, but thank you for your report. All in favor of this? Thank you very much. It's been carried. Move to 7.2.3, Rabies Program Update, 2022 to 2023, HSS-24-006.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, I would like to introduce Ms. Alexis Atkinson to present this report. Thank you.
Good morning. Today I'm just going to give a brief overview of the rabies program update. So as you can see in the report, last year we received a total of 478 bite scratch reports. Out of the ones that we kept was 434. The vast majority of those bite scratch reports were from dogs at 281, cats at 109, bats at 18, and other animals were listed as 26. Out of the 434, we provided post-exposure prophylaxis to 51 people. Some of those did come from other reports from other health units as well for people living in our area. And out of the rabies investigations exposure types, we had 406 bites, 18 scratches, and 12 listed as other. And that concludes my presentation for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. That's, so is that an increase from previous? Yes, much.
Yes, there is a slight increase this year from previous years.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? Councillor Metcalf?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one. Would these be pets, or are these feral dogs, or just kind of a mixture of both? Or
Through the chair to the committee member, Mr. Metcalf, it's a variety of both. We've had bites from squirrels. We've also had domestic animals, sometimes their own pets or a neighbor's pet. Some feral cats as well. It really varies. As you can see, we get 1 to 2 per day, every single day of the year. Thank you.
Can I get a mover, please, for this report? Thank you, Councillor Van Passen, seconded by Councillor Duthie. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Next is 7.3, Social Services and Housing, 7.3.1, Ontario Work Service Plan 2024, HSS 24004.
Good morning. Thank you. Through the chair to committee, I'll be presenting the report. I want to also draw attention and reintroduce the management team for the Ontario Works program. Virtually joining us today, Chris Gilbert, Katie Donovan, and Chris Parker. So they're also here to answer questions if there are any, and want to thank the three of them, as well as Michael Van Sickle, who is also present today for working with me to prepare the service plan for submission to the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services. The recommendations of the report are to, first of all, receive it as information, and second of all, seeking direction from committee to present this or to submit this to the ministry in order for them to review and approve. For us as a service delivery agent to continue to secure our ongoing Ontario Works funding, the ministry requires that we submit both a budget submission, which has already happened and gone through budget in January, and also this service plan document. The service plan document has been updated. It's the first iteration of this. It's a much more fulsome document. You may have noticed there's a lot more information in it. Community needs assessment, as well as the continued expectation for us to demonstrate to the ministry how we are going to deliver services to our communities as per their guidelines, mandate, and vision. I would say that at this stage, I'll open it up to questions if there are any, but I did want to note one update that the ministry provided to us after this report was written and submitted and finalized through the process. One of the targets has been shifted. The target for returning to Ontario Works, instead of 20%, is 36% now. So a little bit higher than they had originally brought forward. And just wanted to note as well that the targets are mandated to us now. They're directed to us. Historically, we had been able to negotiate those. We're no longer able to do that as an EST site. Those were directed to us, and those are the expected outcomes. They're based on the better of 2 comparator years. So we have achieved them in the past, but the expectation is that we'll continue to achieve that. And in historic negotiations with the ministry, generally speaking, there'll be intended increases wherever possible in years to come. So just wanted to note that as a change to the document post the agenda being prepared. So with that, I'll open it up to questions for myself or any of the program managers if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Can I get a mover, please, before discussion? Thank you, Councillor Metcalf. Seconded. Councillor Van Passen, thank you. Discussion? Thank you, Councillor Van Passen.
More a comment, you know, the longer I sit at the table, I think we should actually spend more time doing plans, follow-up reports, statistics, than we actually do working with the people. And if we could cut down on some of this, I think that would improve the services we actually give to this needed. So.
Thank you for the comment through the chair. Councillor Van Passen, this document took a lot of hours to prepare, and I absolutely understand and will appreciate that the information is valuable and important. But to your point, with reductions in our budget and service standards continuing to increase, it is quite a press on the team to get the work done and the services delivered in the community. So I say that with all due respect. But yes, to your point, we can only do so much with our time, and we really do need to get out there and meet people where they are and support them. So yes, the information is valuable, but it was quite a task. I will say that the increased expectation on the team for this was a lot, and but we continue to deliver services. But thank you. To your point, yeah, agree.
No, what I forgot to say, it is a very fulsome document, a lot of detail. Appreciate the effort that went into it.
Thank you. But yeah, for sure, to your point, absolutely. We can only do so much with our time and resources, and yeah, it does sort of create a bit of a balancing act for us. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions? And thank you again, Stephanie, for your fulsome report. We appreciate that. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Subcommittee reports, 8.1, HNHU 2023 Q4, sorry. Q4 Budget Amendment CS 24-025.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, I would like to request Michael Van Sickle to present this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Syed, and through the chair to committee. As per the Ministry of Health's reporting requirements within the 2023 amending agreement, The Haldeman Norfolk Health Unit is required to report on actuals and forecasted spending quarterly in addition to program data and statistics. This report seeks to provide that update to committee and the Board of Health by requesting a budget amendment to satisfy ministry requirements and ensure COVID-19 programs remain 100% funded by the ministry. This report splits out department programs by COVID-19, base, and one-time. For COVID-19 programs, there is an expected budget surplus of $507,591. This surplus is driven by salaries and benefits, cleaning services, rental costs, and PPE. Overall, as COVID-19 pressures reduced, staff time on base program activities Overall, as COVID-19 pressures reduced, staff time on base program activities were transferred there instead. The 2023 budget for COVID programs was also established conservatively based on historical actuals, with sufficient contingency for additional outbreak management or vaccine distribution. For base mandatory programs, there is an expected budget surplus of $1,108,800. This is where the budget amendment comes in, as the ministry requires boards of health to reduce program budgets to an allocation where a potential levy surplus is reduced to zero. In doing this, COVID-19 programs will not be able to be utilized for the levy surplus and remain 100% funded by the ministry. The budget will be reduced to the minimum cost share. Salaries and benefits and interdepartmental charges drive the surplus for these programs. The Ontario Seniors Dental Care Program has an expected deficit of $513,158. This is the only program where costs must be tracked on their own from mandatory programs. Program uptake continues to increase without a funding allocation to match these costs. A request has been made to the ministry for reimbursement of excess spending, and communication on this request has not been received to date. If approval is not given, the shared municipal levy will be required to support the deficit. Table 1 provides a look at one-time funded projects. 3 of the projects had not started by December 31st. However, they are on track to be completed prior to the March 31st deadline. Mitigation funding will be used to offset the shared municipal levy from the cost share change, where the ministry reduced funding from 75% to 70%. The School Focused Nurses program ended on June 30th, and the Public Health Inspector Practicum program successfully utilized 2 students during a summer work term. The net result of this amendment is that COVID-19 costs will be fully funded by the ministry, as well as an expected shared municipal levy surplus of $855,656 for the 2023 calendar year. And staff will be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for your report. Are there any, can I get a mover, please, before we move ahead? Councillor O'Neill, thank you. Seconded? Councillor Metcalf, thank you. Discussion? Questions? Seeing it, Councillor Van Passen, go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair. The COVID program had a surplus of $507,000. I'm assuming that we have to give that back, or do we ask them to, if we can keep that to make up for the $513,000 deficit in the dental program?
Through the chair, because they are 2 separate programs, we have to flow that back, and then they will decide based on how the ministry does for their surpluses, if they have sufficient funds to support the dental program then.
But are we at least going to ask?
Through the chair, we have been in constant communication with the ministry, and yes, that is one of the questions that we ask is for COVID surplus. They have allowed it before, but they seem intent on not doing so this year, but we continue to pressure and ask them, yes.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Communications, February Alpha Info Break, 9.1. It's only for information purposes. There's no other businesses. There is one closed session item today. It's 11.1, verbal update on strengthening public health, HSS-04-010. Can I have a mover for the following motion? That committee enter closed session at 9:59 a.m. pursuant to Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, as the subject matter pertains to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, labor relations, or employee negotiations. A mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Seconded by Councillor Metcalf. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mayor Amy Martin, and I'm here with the Director of Planning, Tricia Givens, to talk all things about Norfolk County planning and development. Hey, Tricia, how are you?
Hi, Mayor Martin. Good, thanks.
I'm wondering if you could share some information with the public about who the planning department is and what you do, and maybe start off with the composition of your team.
Sure. We have recently grown, so there's some core groups in our team that are really important to share. We've got the development group, which is led by a supervisor of development planning and 5 planners. We have a new position, which is the project lead for long-range policy planning projects. We have our GIS team, which includes a supervisor and 2 technicians. And then we have our admin supports, which includes planning coordinator, development coordinator, and secretary treasurer.
And everybody has different roles and responsibilities, but on a high level, what are the roles and responsibilities of the planning department?
So we are required to do all things related to land use planning. So the number one piece is the Planning Act. There's a piece of legislation that sort of dictates and lays out the framework for how we work. So that's around development applications and people coming in with their specific applications. And then there's provincial policy conformity, so those broader county-wide projects.
And all of the planners, they're working towards, or they are registered professional planners. Can you comment on the designation of a planner and what that means when we're processing files?
Sure, that's really important. So as professional planners, we do have a standard of work and a code of conduct that we're required to follow. And in that, that's reviewing applications or running processes that broadly make sure we're planning for the role of the good of the community, the public good, and not always specific to one individual project.
I think it's an important part because I think it really differentiates the role of staff and council in the planning process. And it's something that I'm frequently asked about in the public. How does that work? What does it look like? So maybe you could share with the public the difference between, the council meetings that we host for planning files, our public hearings, our committee meetings, and then the subsequent council meeting where we approve files at a later date.
Sure. So there's 2 areas. So there's for specific development applications. So those are individual applications that come forward. And under the Planning Act, there's specific process and things that we're supposed to do. So for those applications, we are required to send notice to the public, post notice, share the information, have it publicly available. And then we bring that information of the complete application to council. First, we do a public hearing where folks can come and council hears about the application, poses questions, and then we come back later with a recommendation to council based on all of the information. The other types are those county-wide projects, such as a growth study or an official plan review, where there's more information, more opportunity for engagement, and we're collecting more information that comes to council. And usually there's multiple presentations to council before any decision.
So you've touched on a couple of things. One, what is a recommendation from staff? What does that mean?
That's really important. So ultimately, council makes the decision. So staff takes all of the technical information and our professional review of that particular application. And based on all of that, ensuring it conforms to our official plan, the Planning Act, the provincial policy statement, et cetera, we make a recommendation to council. And council takes that under advisement and ultimately makes a decision.
And that recommendation may be to approve the particular file in front of us, to reject it, to defer it to a later date. It could be a variety of different recommendations.
That's right.
Yeah. And so there is a really important piece, a role that the public plays during this process at that public hearing committee. So obviously council and staff, we really want to hear from the public when we're dealing with development files, but there's another reason why it's really important to get the public to speak and share input on the record. Can you comment on why that's so important?
Absolutely. So again, two specific areas, the specific development application or the broader county-wide projects. So for a specific application, it's important, I think, for staff and council to hear those neighborhood feedbacks, the input, and also to have their issues addressed. And then that informs the council decision. It also informs the planning recommendation to some degree. Similarly, for those broader county-wide projects, it's very important for staff to understand those perspectives and again to inform any recommendation to council.
And there is an appeal process to any decision that ends up being made by council, correct?
That's right. So that is for any statutory application. There is ability, and the rules are different depending on the type of application, but for the most part, there are opportunities to appeal those applications.
And it's important for members of the public to be on the record, either by way of written correspondence or speaking at a council meeting in favor or in opposition to a file if they're interested in appealing, right?
That's right. So staff are always really excited to see folks coming and giving their input. So we get things in writing all the time, but also folks can come in and share their input or ask their questions directly at the public hearing committee.
Yeah, I agree. It's so important to hear, and it's a way that it helps staff and council make informed decisions about the type of development we want to see in our community.
Absolutely.
And certainly as mayor, and I know you probably agree as a staff member, it's our preference to keep planning decisions made on a local level. We really don't ever like to see a file go off and be appealed.
That's right. And so on that note, council does play a key role in the planning process. Do you want to perhaps speak to how that works from a political perspective?
Sure, yeah, it's a lot different than the staff perspective, but it's that important piece where we connect with the community, we hear their feedback and their concerns, and as you mentioned, those recommendations come forward to council at the public hearing meeting first, where we can ask those questions and talk with our community members, but subsequently comes back to us later for a council decision. And you know, we're similarly to staff, we're really stuck making decisions based on the land uses, not giving consideration to a lot of the other factors that I think community members believe council members can weigh in on. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we're trying to build the best community for all of Norfolk County, and we'll do it one file at a time.
Absolutely.
Okay, before we go, top 3 most asked questions that I get all the time. I'm going to rapid fire them to you. Are we planning on growing in Norfolk County?
So yes, in our official plan, we identify our growth. And right now, interestingly, we're undergoing our comprehensive municipal review, which is how Norfolk is going to grow to 2051.
And we've already touched on it earlier, but you know, with that appeal process, it's very difficult to say no to development. So we should really be, you know, at a local level, kind of carving out the development the way we want to see it in our communities. Second question, I'm often asked, why doesn't council say no to more planning files?
So that's an interesting question. So I'll start with our official plan. Our official plan identifies all the designated land uses in the county. The zoning bylaw overlays and identifies specifically what you can do on each property, each type of zone. So with the exception of hazard lands and some natural heritage features, there's identified permissions already in every zone across the municipality. So if somebody came for a building permit, they could get a building permit anyways. There's some instances where people want to change those uses, and that's when things come back to council for consideration. So in that context, council's considering that adjustment or that change.
But people can come to the planning department and they don't even need to come before council if their request meets those land uses.
That's right.
Okay. And then why do some planning applications feel like they take so much longer than others?
We often get that feedback. So under the Planning Act, there's very specific statutory timeframes for each types of planning application, and staff works really hard to meet those statutory timeframes. Sometimes we don't get all the information we need, or we realize partway through that some information was missing. But for the most part, staff are working towards meeting those statutory timeframes.
And they're the same timeframes across the province,
That's right,
correct?
across the province.
Every municipality has them.
That's right.
Okay, thanks so much. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226-NORFOLK, extension 1842. Or you can email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks so much for watching.
Hi, I am Mohammed from Norfolk County Planning Department. We get a lot of questions at the Planning Department, and this video series will answer some of those. The first big question is, what is the official plan? Norfolk County's official plan describes Council's policy on how lands in our community should be used, managed, and developed. It is prepared with community input and helps to ensure the future planning and development will meet the specific needs of our community. An official plan includes issues such as where new housing, industry, offices, and shops will be located, and what services like roads, water mains, sewers, parks, and schools will be needed. It also defines when and in what order our community will grow and outlines community improvement initiatives. The official plan is approved by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing in Ontario. The current official plan was adopted in 2016 with a goal to manage the growth of this county for the next 20 years. Residents can see Norfolk County official plan on our website at norfolkcounty.ca/official plan. What is a secondary plan? A secondary plan is a more detailed policy document embedded within the official plan to address the growth and development issues unique to a specific area of the county. For example, the lakeshore area in Norfolk County or a particular urban area with defined characteristics can be a secondary plan. As I mentioned, it is a more detailed policy document. It provides directions on where future development will occur with a guideline on density, road access, infrastructure services, different building types, building heights, or even design guidelines that are compatible to that specific area. In Norfolk County, there is only one secondary plan at this moment, which is the Lakeshore Special Policy Area Secondary Plan. The Port Dover Secondary Plan would be the second plan the county is working on at this moment. What does the land use designation of a property mean? Norfolk County's official plan also identifies how individual land or a group of lands will be used, and this is done by the land use designation. In Norfolk County, a lot of lands have been designated as agricultural. Some areas have been designated as hazard lands because of their specific natural features. An example would be the natural creeks, streams, rivers, or shoreline areas. Some lands have been designated as residential, commercial, or industrial to efficiently manage the growth of specific land use. Each land designation has rules about the kind of development allowed. The official plan uses growth management data to identify where and how much growth will occur in the next 20 years. In accordance with the provincial requirement, Norfolk County reviews and updates these growth areas every 5 years. What is the process of changing an official plan designation? A landowner can request to change the designation of the land through an official plan amendment application. This change requires a public hearing meeting and council's decision. A landowner needs to consult with a planner to get more information about this process and to identify the required documents they must submit. Any official plan amendment needs to conform to the provincial policy statement, which is a planning policy document that affects all municipalities across Ontario. This provincial policy statement is currently under review and may change in the future. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Hannah from the Norfolk County Planning Department. We receive many questions at the Planning Department, and this video series will answer some of those, like, what types of planning applications are there? There are 4 main types of planning applications for different needs. First, there are minor variances and different types of severances. These are reviewed by Norfolk County's Committee of Adjustment. An example of a minor variance is when a garage is being built closer to a property line or is taller than what is permitted in the zoning bylaw. An example of a consent to sever is creating a new lot to allow for a new house. Second, are zoning bylaw and official plan amendments that are considered at council. An example is changing the permission in an urban area to allow for a triplex where a single detached dwelling is permitted. Third, are applications that Ontario's Planning Act gives Norfolk County's Planning Department authority to approve. For example, a draft plan of condominium or subdivision, which are types of applications which enable the division of land for future housing. And fourth, are applications which rely on approval from another regulator, such as telecommunications towers and hazard land boundary line adjustments. As a resident, when do I need to submit a planning application?
For the average homeowner, a planning application may be required if your project does not meet the requirements of the zoning bylaw or official plan, or your property falls under site plan control. The building department will let you know that a planning application is required. If you want to change the boundaries of your lot, create an easement, or create a new lot from your property, you will need to apply for a consent to sever with the planning department. What is a pre-consultation meeting? A pre-consultation meeting is the first step of a planning application and allows staff to clarify the application process and provide a checklist of documents required. A complete application can reduce the time required for review and decision-making. Applications that must undergo a pre-consultation meeting before the application can be submitted include official plan amendments, zoning bylaw amendments, draft plans of subdivision, draft plans of condominium, and site plan applications. A meeting may also be required for certain Committee of Adjustment applications. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842. You can also email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching. Hi, I'm Hannah from the Norfolk County Planning Department. We receive many questions at the Planning Department, and this video series will answer some of those. A common question is, what is zoning? Zoning is a way of categorizing how land can be used. Norfolk County has identified through its zoning bylaw different land use zones, for example, commercial, agricultural, or residential, what they can be used for, and any required standards, for example, building size and location. Zoning must be maintained by any development or activity that has started from the date the zoning bylaw has been passed by the county. What is the process of changing a zoning bylaw? A common reason that residents are referred to the planning department is because their proposal does not meet the current zoning bylaw provisions. If a landowner wants to change the land use from what is permitted in the existing zoning, a change in the zoning bylaw would be required. For example, changing the permission from only a single detached dwelling to expand the permission to build a triplex. This is called a zoning bylaw amendment and it requires council's approval. A planning application known as a minor variance can be submitted for a minor change in the zoning bylaw, such as the height or size of a structure. Minor variances are reviewed by the Committee of Adjustment that is made up of citizen members who are appointed by council. The committee is governed by the Planning Act and holds public meetings to approve applications for minor variances and consents. A minor variance must meet the 4 tests to be approved. 1, the change is minor. 2, the development is desirable for the appropriate use of the land, building, or structure. 3, the change maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan. And 4, the change maintains the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. What happens after a decision is made by the Committee of Adjustment? If the committee approves an application, the applicant and anyone else involved is notified. Certain parties can appeal a decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal within a 20-day appeal period. If no appeals are filed, the county issues notice that the decision is final. For minor variances, an applicant can now proceed with the building permit process. For severances, specific conditions must be met within 2 years, or the application will expire and the process will need to restart from the beginning. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I am Mohammed from Norfolk County Planning Department. We've got a lot of questions here and this video series will answer some of those. What is a severance? Severance is a planning process to separate a piece of land from an existing lot, generally for the purpose of a new development within a new lot. There are 3 different common types of severances we receive in Norfolk County. The first one is when a piece of land is separated to create a new parcel of vacant land. For example, a landowner may have a large lot and wish to separate a piece of land from the original lot with the intention to sell the lot to a new owner. In that case, both lots need to comply with existing zoning requirements such as setbacks of any existing or new buildings from the property lines. The second one is a surplus farm dwelling severance. It happens when a landowner purchases additional farmlands and a residence on one of the properties is no longer required for their farming operation. In this case, the owner can sever the piece of land that contains the redundant residential dwelling. And the third kind of severance can be a boundary adjustment between two adjacent properties, where one property owner agrees to transfer a piece of their land to the other owner. There are various reasons we received a boundary adjustment severance, such as to allow additional lands, to accommodate a building construction, or to construct an extended septic system, or to resolve the setback deficiency of an existing lot. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching. Hi, I am Mohammed from Norfolk County Planning Department. We've got a lot of questions here, and this video series will answer some of those. What is a subdivision? If a landowner would like to divide their property into 3 pieces of land, they can submit a severance application that we explained earlier. Whereas a subdivision application is required when a landowner has a piece of land large enough to divide into more than 3 or 4 individual lots to build new houses or other kind of developments. The subdivision process generally requires a more in-depth review with a longer processing time to ensure that the development meets county's development standards. What is a condominium? A condominium, often known as a condo, is an ownership model where the building or group of buildings is divided into multiple units that are surrounded by common areas for circulation, servicing, or amenities such as parks and open spaces. The common areas are jointly owned and managed by the owners of the units. Residential condominiums are frequently constructed as apartment buildings and townhouses with private roads. Many shopping malls are also commercial condominiums in which the individual retail and office spaces are owned by businesses that occupy them, while the common areas of the mall are collectively owned by these business entities. A condominium corporation is often made up of condo unit owners who manage and operate the condominium complex. What is the difference between a subdivision and a condominium? One of the main differences between a subdivision and a condominium development is who is responsible for providing services such as water, wastewater, and road maintenance after the construction and occupancy of the dwellings or units. In a subdivision, the county takes responsibility for providing these services to individual lots. On the other hand, in a condominium, the county is only responsible to providing services up to the entry point of the development. The condominium is responsible for distributing services and the maintenance to the individual units. How are subdivisions and condominiums approved? To get approval for a subdivision or condominium, the landowner must apply for approval of a draft of the plan that shows how many lots are proposed, the lot size, how the lots will be accessed, including any new roads, and how the lots will be serviced for water and wastewater or other utilities. The planning team will provide guidelines to the landowner on the standards they need to comply with. Examples include road design, tree plantation, fencing requirements, and maintaining a buffer from any existing industrial or commercial sites, etc. Generally, the subdivision applications go to council for a decision, whereas most of the condominium applications are currently approved by the county staff under delegated authority. How are residents informed about a new subdivision? When a draft plan of a subdivision is approved, the neighbors receive an approval notice of the application. The neighbors have 20 days to appeal against the approval or refusal of the draft plan. Once the appeal period has expired, there is still a lot of work that needs to be done by the developer before beginning the construction. An approved draft plan
10:24 a.m. Have a mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Van Passen. Seconded. Councillor Metcalf, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Motion to accept the following recommendation that the closed meeting update strengthening public health be received as information and that staff proceed as directed. Could I get a mover, please? Councillor Duthie, thank you. Seconded. Councillor O'Neill. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. And I'm going to go back to 9, communications. I didn't get a mover and seconder for the February Alpha Info Break. That's 9.1. So may I get a mover, please, for the information? Thank you, Councillor Van Passen, seconded by Councillor Metcalf. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Our next meeting is Monday, March 25th, 2024. May I have a motion or a mover to adjourn this meeting at 10:25 a.m.? Can I get a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Duthie. Seconded. Councillor Metcalf. All in favor? The motion is carried. We are adjourned. Thank you. Have a great day.